Alright, and we are rolling. Hey everybody, it's Devin here. A little bit of a change of scenery because, as I mentioned in my last video, I was going home for Thanksgiving. So I am home for one of the holidays. It will be both of the holidays, but home for the holidays. So that's why it's country chic all up in here. And didn't quite do what I wanted or thought I was going to be doing, which was a post-consultation video on Tuesday night or Wednesday, and then a post-talking to my parents video about hormones sometime, well, for Sunday, which is my like upload day. So I'm doing things like a little bit wacky, but you know, I'm home, so there's not always time by myself. It's Black Friday, so my mother went off shopping, and my father is doing overtime at work, and so it's just me for the morning. So I figured now is a perfect time for me to do a little update video, my little vlog, and to just kind of catch y'all up yet again with where I am at in this process, because again, a handful of things has happened since last Sunday. So it is November 24th. My consultation went fantastic. I am seeing Ralph Vetters through the Sydney Borum Junior Health Clinic. He is a great guy. He seems really nice, and I'm super pumped. I talked to his assistant and him as well, and just kind of dished out my history with my gender and my mental health, and briefly touched upon like alcoholism with myself, and just where I was at with my life. And that was all like, obviously I still have depression and anxiety and like quasi-gender dysphoria, but a lot of the bigger issues I've dealt with like 2 years ago. So I feel like I'm at a really good place for myself to be moving forward with my transition, and especially just because I'm surrounded by really great folks in my life right now. And they were like, hell yeah. And I mentioned kind of where my parents, primarily my mother, was at with her concerns about my health and well-being when taking tea, and was like, I don't want you to get cancer. I don't want you to die. And I'm like, that's fair, but I don't know. That's why I go to a like actual like health practitioner who will be watching me throughout this process. And then an even bigger thing that she's concerned about is the financial aspect of it, which I can understand, because the financial aspect of it also, I mean, it affects me, and I've grown up a lot with financial anxiety, just because of how my parents raised me and how we are very lower middle class my entire life. But I've always like lived comfortably in this home, and like have never had to sacrifice much. I don't know. It's really weird. But essentially now I have money anxiety. Um, but I mean, like, the big things that I am and would love to spend money on right now is therapy. I pay for my own therapy, and HRT. Like that's what I want right now. Granted, I am trying to save up money, and I do have college bills coming in 2019, so that I can get myself on my feet a little bit. But honestly, like I'm not too concerned about the future, and I feel like especially in Boston I'll find something to kind of like make ends meet. So that's where I'm at with that. But the consultation went great. I got blood work done that day, and then I got the lab results back very quickly, like within like less than 48 hours. I was sent an email with the results, and my cholesterol is fine. My liver functions are normal. My red blood cells are normal, and my thyroid is normal. So he said that everything looks great and that there would be no like medical concerns with me starting tea, which was really really great. I got that news on my way back home. Sorry, I'm like getting teared up because fuck yeah. um I got that news when I was in South Station, waiting for my train. And so I was just like sitting in a corner, like on my email. Like I saw I got the email, but the Wi-Fi was so shit that like I couldn't like access it and like create my account and yada yada yada. Um, and I finally like got it opened and saw the results, and I was just like, wow, wow, life is good. Life is good. And then I like couldn't wait to show my mother that. Um, Again, because of her concerns with my health and the things that could most likely cause a risk are all fine. Like there's nothing like problematic on a baseline level, so progressing forward, things are pretty damn well. Um, so transitioning more into talking about my mother and talking with them about hormones. So I came home with a shitload of resources, both from my doctor and from my internship site. So like these rinky-dink printout. Oh, that one's my health. These rinky-dink like handout things are from my from Dr. Fetter's, and it's just kind of like the risks associated with HRT, when sex and gender collide, like this kind of stuff that he would give me for resources to my mother, and then also he recommended me getting the book Transgender 101 for my parents, and I'm probably going to invest or try and find some better, more updated books. More to come on that in a few seconds. And then a couple pamphlets from my internship. And I did that primarily A, so she would have resources, but B, because she told me that she checked out books from my local library. And we live in small town, white, cis suburbia. And I was really nervous when when she told me she went down to the local library and checked out some books on being trans. And I was like, oh god, those are probably from the 80s, and it's probably like transsexualism. Which I wasn't entirely wrong on. So the first book that was kind of like out sitting on this table that I looked at and made eyes with was True Selves, Understanding Transsexualism. So I saw this and I was like, what the fuck? And I immediately went to the copyright date, and this was printed when I was born in 1996. So this is 21 years old. And I'm like, I have aged better than this book. Like, what the fuck? And she has a little bookmark here at a page, or I guess she's been like reading a little bit of each book. And let me just read to you the page that she has opened, which I think kind of fueled the dialogue that we had. Some patients who go to a therapist stating that they are transsexual and want to change their sex may not be transsexual at all. For example, they may actually be any of the following. And there's a bullet point list. Gay men or lesbians in denial or confusion, who may either be reluctant to face their sexual orientation issues or confused about the differences between sexual orientation and gender identity. I've been pretty solid in my sexual orientation since circa 6th or 7th grade. I have identified as bisexual my entire life, and I have been more attracted towards women my entire life. And I feel like that makes a shitload of sense. I'm not a lesbian. I am a straight, primarily straight man who likes women. I should say, like, trigger warning for, like, lots of T-slurs up in here because of this fucking outdated book. Transvestites for whom the initial eroticism of cross-dressing has been replaced by feelings of comfort, which causes them to wonder if this shift might be an indicator that they are transsexuals rather than transvestites. Effeminate men or masculine women who are uncomfortable in their gender role but not with their own gender identity. They may deem it easier to change sex than to struggle in their roles or deal with their issues. I feel like it's more difficult for me to force myself to identify as a masculine woman than to physically, socially transition. Especially with the fact that 2017 was the deadliest year for trans people. I'm, again, like, primarily trans women of color, but, like, that's saying something. There is a epidemic of, there's a genocide against trans people right now. But they're just struggling with being, like, an effeminate man or a masculine woman. Like, fuck that. I am struggling with being a trans person right now. It's because of this book. Men with severe erection problems, that's not my issue. My dick's the size of a peanut. Individuals who were sexually abused or assaulted in some point of their life, who may, as a result of their early trauma, find their bodies so distasteful that they'll go to any lengths to change them. Individuals who have inappropriate sexual impulses towards exhibitionism, and list a whole bunch of other. They're equating trans people with antisocial or criminal behaviors. Under that is also sexual assault. So this is fucked up. Criminals who wish to change or disguise their identity, who may in rare cases seek a sex change in an attempt to avoid detection and prosecution. You got me. I am a big old criminal. I am running away from the law. That's why I'm trans. If the law is capitalism and this fucked up society, then you bet your sweet baby I'm running as far as possible. Individuals with Munchausen syndrome, a rare disorder which individuals claim to have various medical problems, which may be totally fabricated, self-inflicted, or exaggeration of pre-existing physical conditions as a way to get medical attention, care, and concern. I feel like my mother took this one and gay men or lesbians in denial and just, like, elevated it in our conversation because I have a phobia of allergic reactions. And that's as far as that, like, medical concern goes. And I think she's just like, well, you fear allergic reactions, so, like, blah. And I'm like, Okay. Okay. Individuals with psychiatric disorders who may, if they have certain thought disorders such as schizophrenia, have delusions that they are members of the opposite sex. And then finally, individuals who have multiple personality disorders. One of the personalities may be gender dysphoric, even if the others are not. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. So that's kind of where my mother's at with her research. I'll just put that little bookmark back in this Understanding Transsexualism book. So that's kind of where my mother is at, truthfully. She did pick up 2 other books. This one, it's a little bit outdated, but again, not as bad as that. It's Coming Around: Parenting Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Kids. So we have a good term here, so that's already off to a great start. And it's by someone with a PhD, and it was printed in 2012. So again, bit more modern. She's not too far into this book, but she is at the chapter, hasn't started this chapter of what not to say. So she should probably do a little bit of reading, little bit of reading up on this. And I think this is more so about lesbian and gay and like a little dash of trans. But it's a start. It's a lot better than that 21-year-old book. And then finally she has this one, which I was very pleasantly surprised at seeing. Transitions of the Heart. Stories of love, struggle, and acceptance by mothers of transgender and gender variant children. So this, I was like, okay, this looks really great. Like, yes, read and learn about other mothers' experiences. And this was published, when was this published? Again, in 2012. So that's pretty cool. Again, she's also not very far into it, but she's read a lot of shit. Or not a lot of shit, but she's read some shit. And I'm just God bless. So kinda 66% on how well she did with her own research, so that's why I brought a lot of my own research as well. This video is getting rather long, so I will conclude and say that god effing damn, I think my parents are slowly but surely coming around. My father is still very silent on this. My mother and I did have a very deep conversation. She did kind of talk over me a lot yesterday, as she was trying to figure out the root of my transness. Fuck you. And she's like, there were never any signs when you were a kid, and then she also tried to blame it on my first relationship I had, 8th grade going into 9th grade, because that was a mess. She's like, are you sure that that didn't do something? And I was like, I was already questioning myself in 6th and 7th grade. Fuck that. So that's where we're at with that. Again, slowly but surely coming around. I think now they're kind of, I told them to not see my gender identity as an elephant in the room, and to just kind of ask me things, and likewise with like my entire family. So we'll see where that goes. I apologize for how long this video is. I spent the majority of it ragging on those books, because that's fucked up. And I told her that. I was like, this is a really outdated book. And she's like, well, I just went to my library and that's all they had. So what am I to do? Like, I went to the bookstore and they didn't have anything. And like, I'm just going to my local library and they didn't have anything. And I was like, well, sometimes you have to reach beyond your borders to find resources. Like, Google exists. I don't know. And I'm also gonna I made up a whole resource list of things that I will send to her and books that I want to invest in and give to her. But Lord Almighty, I hate being home. It's so fucking stressful. And she also blames my transness on me being up in the city. I'm like, okay, like 9 out of 10 times I'm still the only trans person in my class. And she's like, you mean what? I don't know. It's weird. But I think slowly but surely it's getting better. And I have things lined up to start tea within the final month of December. So more updates to come on that. I have my therapy appointment on the Monday that I get back, and Lord Almighty, am I going to need it. So more to come. Since I'm posting this one a little bit early, y'all probably won't get another video from me until next week. So I hope that everyone is having a lovely Thanksgiving break. If you don't celebrate Thanksgiving because of its fucked up roots in genocide and God, then enjoy capitalism. I don't know what to say. I hope you had good food and that y'all are in a really good place right now. And I will talk to y'all sometime next week. Be well, everybody. Devin out.